Hi everyone. In this video, I'll go through how you can approach reading comprehension questions that specifically relate to poetry. This question was actually submitted by Sylvia, and one of her issues was that her son found it quite difficult to go through poetry because I guess there's lots of symbolism and figurative language. So the answer is somewhat not explicit as you would in, I guess, a straightforward article. So let's go through it now. What we'll do is we'll go through the selective high school sample test, which is publicly available at the New South Wales Department of Education and Training website. And we'll go through a particular poem and I'll talk about how I would approach this particular example. Okay? So we'll move on to the horse. So this is a poem and it relates to questions 5 through to questions 8. The first part in reading comprehension would be to look at the question. So what I mean by the question is this. We have an approach where, one, you look at the question and you understand them. Then, two, you look at the solutions presented and then read the passage, noting down in your mind on the side or the page the main idea of each paragraph or stanza, and then find the details or area in the passage that will help you answer the question. And then after that, we decide on an answer and match to the solutions available. So let's put this in action. Okay, so the first part is looking at the question. So let's look at question 5. Which one of the following sums up the poet's feelings for the horse? You've got fear, respect, repulsion, and amusement. What you're looking at is when you look at something like fear, you're trying to find words within the poem that cumulatively lead to the notion or the atmosphere of fear. Okay, and same with the others. Usually in reading comprehension, there is two that are definitely wrong and then two that may be quite similar. The difference between the correct answer and I guess the second part of it would be just maybe even one word that would differentiate it. So therefore looking through the passage as a whole is really important. Okay, so you're not just looking at one word, you're getting a few words which together combine make up the atmosphere. Okay, let's look at questions 6, 7 and 8 quickly. So question 6 is saying, the horse does his work in a way that is lazy, efficient, cheerful and reluctant. You know that if it's cheerful, there would be words that would instantly say this, and same with reluctant, and you've got efficient and lazy. Question 7, lines 5 to 12 suggest that the horse, so you're looking this section here, okay, in poetry, they've got these numbers here represent the line number, okay, is enslaved by human beings, has a very unusual appearance, has its own unique characteristics, is typical example of these species of horse. Question 8 is the word yet in line 12. Could be seen as dividing the poem into two contrasting parts. What this means is the first section is one part, the second is another. Down here it says, which of the following pairs of words summarizes the way the horse is described in the two parts? First part is happy, special, obedient, or unconstrained, and the second part is unhappy, ordinary, dependent, and control. Okay, can you see there that we can see the solutions already have very different parts? So, you know, happy is very different to special, as special is different to disobedient and also unconstrained. If you were to say two were similar in a way, it would be disobedient and unconstrained, somewhat similar, but happy and special are obviously two different and distinct things. Same with dependent and controlled. Okay, while something is controlled, it's not necessarily dependent. Okay, so there we're looking at those sort of things when we look at the question and solution, because by looking at the question and solution, we're honing down on the areas we're looking at and not wasting time. Okay, after you've done that, you look on to the passage. So the horse moves independently without reference to his load. He has eyes like a woman and turns them about throws. Back his ears and is generally conscious of the world, yet he pulls when he must and pulls well, blowing fog from his nostrils like fumes from the twin exhaust of a car, by William Carlos Williams. Okay, so let's go on to question 5. Which one of the following sums up the poet's feelings for this horse? First thing we need to look at is, okay, what are the words which show fear? Respect, repulsion, amusement. First thing we do is look at the adjectives, okay? And some of the passages. So, moves independently without reference to his load. There looks like there seems to be an admiration for the horse being able to move quite independently, okay? So he has his own motion. He has eyes like a woman and then turns them about, throws. Okay, this is describing the motion of the horse. Back his ears and is generally conscious of the world. You can see here that you're describing, instead of just a horse, you're describing, I guess, an animal which is, moves independently, conscious of the world. It means it's like a human being, which has a mind, okay? Because, the words independent, conscious of the world, okay? Yet he pulls when he must and pulls well. This part here indicates that, okay, well, he does a job when he has to and then he does it well, okay? Blowing fog from his nostrils, it looks like this part here, blowing fog from his nostrils indicates hard work and dedication, like fumes from the twin exhausts of a car. So he's hard working, so he's like a vehicle as well, okay, to help people do work. So which one of the following sums up the poet's feelings for this horse? Is there anything that indicates fear? Probably not, because there is nothing about, this person, this horse intimidates him, he stomps around. There's nothing in the poem which puts this up. Okay, let's look at something like amusement. Amusement is something that makes someone laugh or they find entertaining. In this case, it's not. It's quite a somber type of tone. Okay, so you're looking at respect or repulsion, because when he says without reference to his load and then conscious of the world, that's an indication that there's some sort of respect there. So out of all the solutions, it would be B. Okay, can you see there how we have to look at the poem itself and look at little key indicators of what could be overall the feelings for the horse. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So, question 6. The horse does his work in a way that is lazy, efficient, cheerful, reluctant. We can already take away cheerful after looking through this, because we know that the tone overall of this poem is quite, quite anything but cheerful. Okay, reluctant, we could have something there, but let's look at efficient and lazy. Lazy would definitely be out of this, because you've got here, he pulls when he must and pulls well. Okay, so he does the work when he needs to do it, and he does it well. So lazy is out, cheerful is out. Okay, because cheerful does not indicate when he must. Okay, so you've got B and D. Is he reluctant? Yet he pulls when he must, which means that the horse will do it when he has to. Does not show reluctance, okay? And he pulls well, meaning he does it well. So it's more efficient than reluctant. Reluctant means he's not wanting to do it at all, whereas here it says he will pull it when he has to. Okay, so it's saying that this horse will do his job, okay, but he does it well, which is efficient. Move on to question 7. Lines 5 to 12 suggest that the horse is enslaved by human beings. So let's look at 5 to 12. He has eyes like a woman and turns them about, throws back his ears and is generally conscious of the world. Yet, okay, and that's it. So this part says, he's describing his eyes to be like a woman, throws back his ears. So there's a lot of motion about the horse. They're describing the characteristics of his movement and conscious of the world. That's quite key here. Okay, so let's look at the solutions. Is there an enslavement by human beings? Unlikely. The only part here, it says his eyes are like a woman. That's just a symbol to say that perhaps the shape of this horse's eyes reminds this particular poet of a woman. Okay, has a very unusual appearance, not particularly. He describes the eyes and then the ears, but there's nothing unusual about it or peculiar. Okay, let's see. The next one is has its own unique characteristics and then is a typical example of this species of horse. It's unlikely to be D because there's no indication here where he says is typical of this species or like many horses or um, like most before him. So things like that, words, just simple words like that would indicate that D would be correct, but in case the absence of them would say that, okay, well, D would not be correct. So therefore, the answer would be C, has its own unique characteristics. So we're looking at things within the poem that are there, and also what is not there would also give an indication as to what the correct answer would be. Finally, the word yet 12 in line 12 could be seen in contrasting, dividing the poem into two contrasting parts. So let's look at the first part, and that's anywhere up to the yet. Okay, and then the second part, which is all the way from yet to the end. Okay, so we look at the first part, and having read it through, well, let's just discuss it. Is it happy? Unlikely. So we get rid of that. Is it special? Not particularly. Is it disobedient? Well, let's look at the first one. Would we say that this is disobedient? The horse moves independently without reference to his load. He has eyes like a woman and then turns them about, throws back his ears, and is generally conscious of the world. Okay, there's nothing there that shows disobedience, so that would be incorrect. So the answer would be the last part, so it would be D. It's unconstrained. And the giveaway to the word unconstrained is here, independently without reference to his load. Turns them about, throws back his ears. There's a feeling of being unconstrained here. And then this part here shows the control. Yet he pulls when he must. Okay? And that's pretty much the control part of that. So can you see there? And the other thing we need to note is we're looking at contrasting parts. So if you don't know what the first part is, you could always look at what the second part is to eliminate the answer. So definitely not unhappy, definitely not ordinary. How about dependent? Well, he's not actually dependent on anyone. He's actually being controlled because he pulls when he must. Okay, can you see there that this is reading comprehension for poetry? We need to look into the poetry, we need to read into it. There will be a few words, but we need to pick out a few words, say moves independently without reference to his load, conscious of the world, pulls when he must and pulls well. Those three areas there are pretty much the basis for answering these questions, and it's about picking those things out, but then looking at a whole that this poem is creating this atmosphere. Okay, so that's the approach to answering poetry in reading comprehension exams that I've been taking. So hopefully this has been useful for you, and best wishes for your entrance exam.